Hi guys, welcome back. Today we are talking all about concealers and I'm going to put you on to the best of the best. I have 10 concealers here in total, 5 affordable, 5 high-end, and we're going to go through it all. We're going to go through formulas, coverage. These are each a little bit different in their own ways, but I love each and every single one of them and they're constantly in the mix, always in rotation. I really do love concealers. I feel like just as much as I love foundations, and this video is totally inspired by Allie Glines. She recently did a concealer video and she made me want to go through all of my concealers and pick out my holy grails. So that is what I did, and now we're going to talk about them. So definitely grab a snack, get cozy, and let's get into it. So I wanted to mention the 2 brushes that I am using to apply each concealer. I am spot cleaning them, by the way, also in between each use, and I kind of go back and forth because I have 2 favorites that I love. But to spot clean, I use the IT Cosmetics brush bath, which is my favorite. And I noticed lately when I apply my concealers with a brush versus with a sponge, I can use a little bit less product and it just looks more full coverage. I just really love the look of it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still love my beauty sponges, but something about applying your concealer with a brush, it's different. I really like it. So these are the 2 brushes that I use throughout the video. The first one is the BK Beauty A506. I love the shape of this. You can see it's kind of like, they call it like a little kitten paw brush, but it's such a nice shape. I love it for the under eyes because it fits perfectly. And I also love my Anissa Beauty angled concealer brush. The shape of this also is perfection. It's a little bit different, as you can see. It's slightly more dense, so I do feel like this gives a little bit more of an enhanced coverage, but they're both great concealer brushes and they work with like all formulas. So I really love these, and that is what I use throughout the video. First up, I'm going to start with the drugstore first, and I'm going to start with the lightest coverage out of all the drugstore concealers. So first I have the Joa Beauty Eye Serum Concealer. This is so beautiful and perfect if you're looking for just like that everyday kind of product. I love how lightweight this is. It doesn't have a ton of coverage. I would say it's like a very natural, minimal, medium coverage, but you can build it up. But even when you build it up, it's not going to be anything crazy. But I love how like lightweight this looks on the skin. I don't like the packaging, but at the same time, I like the way the product applies with the little sponge. It reminds me of the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Concealer, but this formula is a little bit less thick and it has a little bit less coverage in that one, but I think it's like the perfect concealer for everyday makeup. You could also use it to spot conceal as well and just run it in your problem areas. And it's like a very thin formula. So if you don't like a lot of concealer, but you just want something quick for every day, I think you would really love this. So even though it has a little bit lighter coverage than the other ones that I'm going to show you, it's not totally light to the point where it's like nothing. Like it definitely gives you a little bit of an enhancement. Next up, I have the Catrice True Skin High Cover Concealer. This has hyaluronic acid and apparently it is waterproof. I will say this is a very long-lasting concealer. It's not 100% waterproof because I did test it out before, but it is really long-lasting and I love the coverage and the finish of this because it is natural. So when it dries down, it's not totally matte and it also doesn't feel excessively dewy. It just has a really beautiful natural finish. A little bit of this goes a long way. I feel like you get a lot of coverage without using a ton of product. You could totally build it up though if needed, if you want to really like pump up the coverage. You can get it on Amazon. So unfortunately you can't get it in stores. You have to get it online, but with the free 2-day shipping, it is such a steal, and this is under 10. It's like $7, but it's really good. I love the packaging on this too. Like the applicator, it has like a flat spatula, so it applies really well, and I think the formula is just perfect. It's opaque without being thick and cakey. Doesn't make my under eyes look really crepey. It's not a heavy formula. It's just creamy, blendable with really good coverage. Blends really nicely, so I feel like this would work with a lot of different skin types as well. All right, still sticking with the full coverage, I have another really full coverage concealer, CoverGirl True Blend Undercover. With this, I feel like either you love it or you hate it, but I love this concealer. I will say though, it does dry really fast because it does have a soft matte finish. So if you like that matte under eye look, you're gonna love this formula. I recommend doing one eye at a time because it does dry pretty quickly, so you gotta work quickly with it and you don't need a lot of product. I do find that whenever I use too much of this, my under eyes can look excessively like crepey and like it does settle into fine lines if you use too much, because you really don't need to use a lot because it is so full coverage. So less is more, but I do think it's a beautiful formula when you use the right amount of product, and I think it's a great Tarte Shape Tape dupe, but it's not as drying as that one. Like that one is like way more matte I think than this. This is like that happy medium and it gives a beautiful soft matte finish. I like the formula of this. It's a little bit like a thicker moussey, but if you hydrate your under eyes and you blend it in quickly with a brush, it looks so beautiful. So I really love this. I always always go back to this concealer too because of the coverage, and it looks so smooth when you apply it. Next up, coming in, we have Flower Beauty Light Illusion Concealer. This is also a cult favorite. I've loved this, I want to say, for like over 5 years. It's definitely a staple in my collection. And comparing it to the other concealers that I just mentioned, Catrice and CoverGirl, this formula is probably like the thinnest besides the one from JoA. Like the consistency is just a little bit more lightweight, but it still gives amazing coverage. This is good solid medium coverage, and then when you continue to build it up, you can get this to be super full coverage with like the most beautiful lightweight feel on the skin. It doesn't feel heavy, so unlike the one from CoverGirl, I feel like with this you can actually use a decent amount and it's still going to look really good and smooth on the under eyes. Finish on this, I want to say, is also more of like a kind of a natural finish. I don't want to say it's totally dewy, but it's also definitely not as matte as the CoverGirl one, but so beautiful. I love mixing in the shade light with light medium. It just gives me like my perfect shade on my under eyes. And I really also feel like there's like smoothing particles in this because every time I put this on, I'm like amazed at how stunning it looks. It blends and it wears really nicely also throughout the day. This is a good one. I feel like you would really also like this if you're looking for that good coverage, but you want like a really lightweight hydrating formula with, I would say, like a natural dewy finish. Of course, I have to mention NYX Bare With Me Concealer Serum. I freaking love everything about this concealer. To me, this is sort of like that concealer that can double up as a foundation. So it really is to me like a 2-in-1 product. This is my favorite concealer out of all of the ones that I just mentioned at the drugstore to spot conceal with. So like I said, it gives me like kind of skin tint, lightweight foundation vibes, but still great coverage. And this is extremely hydrating. Out of all of the concealers that I mentioned, this is the one that is the most hydrating at the drugstore. I love the way this looks pretty much all over the face, like I said, as a foundation, because it is like a serum. So like when you apply it, it's just like almost like a skin enhancer, but it really gives you such nice coverage and you don't need a lot of it. Like I feel like one little pump is just gonna cover both of your under eyes, and you might even have a little extra product to cover any blemishes as well. Like a little bit goes a long way, and I've had this for so long and I still have so much product left. So this is definitely my favorite product to use whenever I'm doing like 10-minute makeup, because you can really put it everywhere. You don't have to use a separate foundation. Just put this on, a little cream blush, some powder, and you're good to go. It's beautiful for every day. And like I said, if you are looking for a super hydrating formula, this is it. Like if you have fine lines, dry skin, you're gonna love this formula. It's amazing. So I'm in the color Golden, which I love right now, and if I want to ever lighten it up, I will take a little bit of vanilla. But the packaging and everything, it's like a little mini foundation, but it's a concealer. And this is kind of like a little bit of a bonus. I meant to actually talk about this when I was talking about the CoverGirl concealer, but I figured I would just shout this out as well because this e.l.f. Hydrating Camo, this is also a forever favorite. And this reminds me so much of the CoverGirl True Blend Undercover, but if you're looking for that full coverage but you don't like that soft matte finish, this one from e.l.f. is definitely much more hydrating. You cannot go wrong with this one from e.l.f. Like I said, I love this formula. It's like $6, full coverage, hydrating. So this will forever be in rotation. I love it. So I figured I would just mention that because I can't do a concealer video and not talk about e.l.f. Hydrating Camo. Like, we go way back. Now we can get into the high-end concealers. So starting off with, again, the lightest coverage, I'm gonna try to go with the high-end concealers lightest to most full coverage. So first up, I have the LYS Beauty Triple Fix Full Coverage Brightening Concealer. So this does say full coverage on it, but to me, this is not full coverage at all. I would say it's more of like a very like minimal medium coverage. Even when you build it up, it's not super intense. It's really lightweight. This formula is super thin. When you blend it in, it just dissolves and looks like your skin, but it definitely gives your under eyes an enhancement. It slightly brightens and conceals without being too much. So I really also like this because it doesn't excessively settle into my fine lines, and I think it's just because of that really nice formula. So if you're just looking for something lightweight every day, it's a clean beauty brand also at Sephora under 20. I think this is amazing, and the wand is really tiny, so it doesn't pick up a ton of product when you put it on, but you really don't need a lot of this, to be honest, because it really is meant to be like that everyday, just natural, fresh, medium coverage concealer that isn't too much. So I love this for everyday makeup, or whenever I feel like my under eyes are dry and they're just like not looking the best, but I still want to do my makeup. I like to do this because, like I said, it doesn't excessively crease. I think if you have dry under eyes like me, or even if you have more mature skin, I feel like you would really like this formula because it's not thick, it's not too runny, it doesn't give you super light coverage, it definitely gives you something. So if you want to splurge at Sephora, but you don't want to like fully splurge, you want to like keep it on a budget, this concealer is it. It's right under 20. Next up, we are talking Rare Beauty. I absolutely love this concealer. The finish is more of like a radiant finish, but it has such nice medium coverage. The formula is a little bit moussey and it just blends into the skin like a dream. It's really creamy. All of these concealers are creamy and blendable, but this one especially, I just really like how it just melts into the skin, but it still gives really nice coverage, and I don't feel like you need a ton of it to get that good medium coverage. So I feel like you would really like this also if you like a very hydrated under eyes. The finish is a little bit more radiant, but it's not too much, it's not too excessive, and when you set it, it still sets beautifully. Next up, we're moving also a little bit up there with the coverage. I have the ABH Magic Touch Concealer, and I have this one in the shade 8. This is a great concealer for your under eyes. It's smooth, it's creamy. You can also use it for spot concealing. It doesn't oxidize, and this has a beautiful natural finish. It kind of reminds me of Tarte Shape Tape, kind of like the ultra creamy one, but I like the formula of this a little bit better because it's just slightly more blendable and just, it looks so beautiful and smooth when you apply it, even on your skin, like to spot conceal, which is really nice. So you could really use this as like also a 2-in-1 product if you're ever doing like a no makeup look or you don't want to use foundation. This is such a great product for that. I love the big doe foot, and it's slightly thicker as far as the formula, but you don't need to use a lot to get coverage. I would say actually less is more with this product as well because the formula is a little bit thicker. And next up, I have a newer addition to my concealer family. I mean, not really. I've been using this definitely for like almost 6 months, I want to say. Like I discovered this in the spring and I've been obsessed with it ever since, and it is the Dominic Cosmetics Wide Awake Full Coverage Concealer. This formula is magical. I don't know what they did, but they did that and it's so good. First of all, I love this metal applicator. This is the only concealer with this kind of applicator. So unique, so cooling when you apply it, and you also get the perfect amount of product for your under eyes when you dip in the wand into the product. Like you don't have to constantly be reapplying or picking up more product. I believe she also mentioned that in her video when she launched. Like she said that like she designed this so that when you dip in, you don't get a ton of product and it won't be cakey, it won't be like excessively creasy or anything. Like it really picks up like the perfect amount and it gives you such good coverage. There is very minimal creasing whenever I use this, even when I wear it like all day. Like it just looks so good even at the end of the day. I feel like this also does work really well on my under eyes because the formula is super hydrating. But even when you are adding more product, if you do want to like really amp up that coverage, I think it's like good coverage right off the bat, to be honest. Almost like full coverage to me. Like when I put this on, I'm like, okay, I don't really feel the need to add more, but you totally could, because I have done that and it doesn't still like excessively crease on me. It still feels really hydrating, it's comfortable, and it blends out into the skin really easily. So I'm in love with this formula. It's really nice. So I have the color Creme Brulee. Bomb. And last but not least, the most full coverage concealer I think out of my entire collection is this one, and that is the Hailey's Beauty Rewind Blurring Full Coverage Concealer. Speaking of metal applicator, this one also has a metal little applicator, and I love products like this because when you apply it, it just feels so cooling and it like helps with depuffing, especially in the morning. This is full coverage and matte, but it's a comfortable matte finish. It's not too much, it's not drying. Definitely, as always, hydrate your under eyes, hydrate your skin, but it's intense. But you don't need a lot of it. A little bit of it goes a long way, and this is also another concealer that I love to like kind of use as my foundation as well because of that full coverage. You can put it on blemishes, on dark spots, anywhere, and it's going to cover up, but it's still going to look so blurred and so smooth, and it doesn't look cakey. Just don't use too much because you don't need a lot. I would say a dime size amount is good for like both of your under eyes. This is also super long lasting, especially in the heat. If you're going to be sweating, if you're going to be crying, this is a really good concealer. I remember using this during my honeymoon last year and it just held up so nice in like the Puerto Rico heat. This is bomb. So love it. I'm in the color medium neutral, and if I ever want to lighten up my under eyes a little bit, I'll go in with fair light neutral, and I'm obsessed. So Hailey's Beauty is one of my favorite complexion brands. They really do complexion so good. Like their products are truly blurry. Like the name is very accurate. This is definitely a blurring formula. So that is everything for my top 10 favorite concealers. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any favorites, let me know, and if there's any concealer that I did not mention that you guys love that you think I need, also let me know because I love your recommendations, and I feel like a lot of us like very similar things, so give me all your suggestions. Everything, as always, will be linked down below. Thank you guys so much for watching and hanging out with me today, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye!